to the sort of one-on-one workshop. The objective of these live streams and videos is to highlight how the largest projects in Web3 are using Forta to monitor the security and health of their systems. So we're honored and excited to have Samyak Jain from Instadapp here to talk with us. Instadapp was one of Forta's first users. And what I thought we'd do is sort of briefly talk about the value of monitoring and real-time alerts in general, and then dive into how Instadapp is specifically using Forta. We can sort of dive into some of the agent use cases and talk about what they do, why you're monitoring those specific things, why that information is useful to the Instadapp team, and then maybe at the end we can explore other things that Instadapp could potentially do with Forta. So
yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So Samyak, first question, and then I'll share my screen and we can dive into specific Forta bots. But high level, why is real-time monitoring and alerting valuable to your team?
I mean, overall, we basically we need the real-time alerting and everything. Is like in a lot of things. Like we have a lot of alerts channel on our Slack. It's basic users alerting. It's administrative thing. It's changing something in the systems and a lot of things. A lot of the things are internal, which we think we might migrate to Forta later on, but it's kind of set it up already, so we haven't done that yet. But yeah, I mean, we track a lot more things, basically any administrative work that's gonna happen, like any event that is emitted on the smart contract level. So we just all of the team gets the idea, like even things which goes through our multi-sign or anything, just like everyone stays updated with the things that happened. And yeah, I mean, and overall, like everything is going as expected. We also and users alert as well. Like we've tracked two kinds of things with the Forta as well, like the user alerts and the administrative side, which was like a kickstart and to learn how to use Forta. But in future, like we'll use it in many different places. And I think it's we are using just for the team right now, but I think making things open, like Forta, basically, like a lot of the alertings are kind of private, but Forta can also like allow it to be more decentralized, which I think this community might need, like some kind of things like which team is doing. Let's say a team has a multi-sign, but they are doing the updates in any of the things on smart contract level, which users might get affected to. So users should know when the updates are happening and all the things, like team is not doing any fishy stuff and everything. So I think that's one of the thing. That's also like team can be more open, because if team has all the power of the alerts and everything, then it's like team can it can help team build the trust with the community.
So for folks listening that aren't familiar, Forta bots and alerts are by default public. Now there are ways to add a privacy element both to the bot code that's running on the network and also the alerts that are emitted. But by default, everything is public. So what Samyak's talking about is being able to socialize public alerts with a broader set of people than just the core dev team, right? Perhaps to the community.
Yeah.
The community finds that real-time information useful as well. I think that's a really interesting use case. I think we anticipate that especially as more protocols truly and fully decentralized, right? Where they really are community managed to some extent, right? The community has to have that visibility into operational aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. Also in the crypto ecosystem, everyone is so anonymous. I think like just because everyone trusts the code on smart contract level, but still like lot of ownership stays. A lot of the things ownership stays with the multi-sig, even with the governance if it is. So I think it can help in many different ways. Like whenever an update goes live, everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked sort of conceptual here. Now let's get down to some real use cases. So, okay. Samek, just let me confirm. Can you see the Forta app here? Okay. Perfect. So, depending on your view, it might be a little small for you, but I will talk through some of this. Good. So for those not familiar, this is the Forta Web App. It's app.forta.network. This is where developers would this is the app they can use to publish agents to the network. This is also where anyone can subscribe to bots that are currently running on Forta. And what we have here is a curated list of users currently on Forta who have some monitoring on Forta right now. And so Instadapp has a tile here. So I'm going to click into that. And it's essentially a profile page for Instadapp. And what you can see are the some sort of high-level description of the bots that are running, monitoring different aspects of Instadapp's system here. So I think it says 5 bots here at the top. I know one of these has been disabled, so there's 4 that are running right now, and there's some basic sort of metrics here. How many nodes are running these on the network, and how many transactions they've inspected over the last 24 hours. So there are, Samek, you alluded to this earlier, but you have 2 types of Forta bots that are running.
Yeah.
And I guess for those that are watching that are confused, I know you'll see agent here on the screen. So agent was the previous name we were using to describe the pieces of logic, the bots that are running. Now we're just calling them bots because we think that's less confusing. So anyway, when you see agents and I refer to bots, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So 2 categories of bots that Instadapp has running. So you have, I'm just going to point these out here. So the one at the top here, you're monitoring large INST token transfer.
Yeah.
Anything over 100K. And then you're also monitoring high volume of DAI and USDC moving out of the DSA. So that's one category. These are sort of more transactional monitors, and then you have.
So okay,
go ahead.
you can go on.
So the second category, real quick, and then we'll jump into transactional ones. So the second category, and we'll get to this in a minute. You're monitoring governance contract events, and you're monitoring implementation contract events. And there's a little bit of detail for those who are interested in a little bit more insight into what these are actually doing. There's sort of subtitles down here that I'm highlighting that shed a little bit more light into what these are monitoring for. So let's jump into the transactional bots here. So monitoring INST token transfers and monitoring large DAI and USDC transfers in and out of the DSA. Why is this information interesting to the Instadapp team? Why do you feel like you need to monitor these things?
So the INST transfer, it's kind of interesting. I'll come back to it. But the token transfer, we were starting to build the Forta agents. So our main goal was to like learn more about the Forta agents, like see how the trackings and everything happens. So we started tracking the token transfers that are going in and out. It doesn't have any risk in particular. It just shows like how the users are dealing with their assets. So I would say like it's not particularly a Forta use case according to this on the security side. It's more like a tracking activities which doesn't involve any kind of risk. So there was, I would say, like it was more kind of trying things out. But on the INST transfer, we started doing it because, like, I think this particular thing exists in all the governance tokens. Like, to pass a governance vote, it takes 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, according to the governance timeline. But uh, you only need like a 3 to 4% of total votes in order to pass a governance vote. So we just started tracking like the any governance event and the INST events. We also run it in our private servers, but we also started tracking it with the Forta agents and anyone who wants to plug into it, to just know like how the INSTs are going around. If like this is very hard to happen, but uh like it's better to be just have everything in place rather than uh have any kind of risks. So basically, if a particular user is trying to accumulate INST over a time of period, we can know. And if any governance proposal like not like just went live, so we can, it's like it's just some kind of tracking, like as like that, I would say a general governance that uh, involves, like every governance involves these kind of things. Like if you want to accumulate some kind of token power, you just need a 3 to 4% of the token powers to actually pass a vote. And what if you do it secretly? Because the governance page is not a page where users go on a regular basis. Users only go to that page when the actual actual governance vote is going on. So we just set it up like if anyone does anything, so we kind of get an alert on Slack, and we can work accordingly to like to mitigate it, etc.
Okay, interesting. So the reason you track INST transfers is tied to governance, and it sounds like the ability for someone to manipulate or game the governance process by purchasing a large amount of INST tokens, like to push a vote through or to push a proposal through, and then immediately get rid of the tokens.
No, so yeah, they will put a proposal, they can vote the proposal, and like basically it's like it's common in all the governance. Like you just need a 4% voting power. Like in multi-sign, if you're voting, you need like a 50%, more than 50% power. But in governance, even if one single user has a 4% voting power, he can actually pass the vote if no one vote against it. So that goes in all the governance, compound, Aave, or any other governance in the community. And if you wanna get a hold of those much amount of tokens, it probably will cost you tens of millions of dollars, or at most hundreds of millions of dollars. So in case you're a big user, and all these protocol holds like a billions of dollars in value, so there is like an incentive if you can pull it off in a way. But yeah, so that's why like we just started tracking. Like it's very hard and very edge case that this could happen. But it's like an interesting thing to keep a track.
Yeah, it's an interesting use case. There's actually there's at least one bot that's running on Forta right now that monitors Uniswap Uni token acquisition activity. And so if someone acquires a large position in Uni, and I forget what the threshold is, immediately before a vote, and then they get rid of that position immediately after a vote, the network emits an alert about that, because there have been some, there have been instances where that's happened, and I think you saw it. I think we saw it with the Beanstalk hack as well.
Beanstalk, yeah, I think like they had like a overall their smart contract infra, like which wasn't, I would say, thought very very thoroughly, because like they kind of didn't manipulated the governance power with just buying the token, but they manipulated the power by minting the curve token, which like they were also giving the voting power to the assets that's inside the protocol. So if you're a user, you deposit the assets, so you also get a voting power. which I think which was one of the main reason the attacker got a lot of power. But also, yeah, so that was like one of the things. But yeah, in governance, as I said, like I think this is like kind of an interesting use case.
So, Samyak, what and these alerts that the team gets, they feed into, are they feeding into a Slack channel, to a Telegram channel? How does the team ingest these
Yeah,
alerts?
everything happens on Slack. I mean, we have a separate Slack channels which just token transfer has no, I think yeah, I'm not. I think we have two channels or one. I don't remember, but yeah. So basically, we're getting all the alerts in there of
Okay.
any of these activities. I think we have two channels, I guess. Okay.
And for the token transfer activity bots, is the team one of the reasons why you want this information is because you want the ability to take some action based on it. You want the ability to react to it, right? So are these purely informational where the team sort of looks at it and acknowledges it and then moves on to do
So
something
as I
else?
said like this is the information, and I gave like if some of those kind of things happens anytime in future, then we can take an action, but it's highly unlikely to happen in particular. But if that happens, then there is a sense to take an action. But
Okay.
in most cases, it's like informational, like you're getting the information.
Got it. Okay. And then on the governance and the implementation contracts, we touched on governance too, but I know if you look at what these bots are doing, right? They're tracking events, they're tracking execution, queued and canceled events.
Yeah.
The implementation contracts looking at add removals and set defaults. So like, why is this information interesting to the team?
This is very core to Insta apps. It's like if someone wants to manipulate the governance, the main benefit they can get is like to manipulate the implementation contract, or they can steal the treasury or something like that. So basically, these are the core events of Insta app, I would say. Basically, so we are tracking all of these things. Other than these, like all the other, there are like semi-core, which doesn't involve any risks to any users' assets or anything. So yeah, I mean, it's like implementation contract event is basically adding and removing the modules in the smart contract accounts, which rarely happens. It only happened once or twice after the launch. But yeah, I mean, but it is very core to Insta app is all.
Okay. And these are if you see these things, these are more rare and therefore more critical than, for example, just monitoring, sort of regular token transfer activity.
Yeah. So yeah, regular token activity, it's like more of a informational, because in most case it doesn't really involve like on Instadap, every users manages their assets on different DSAs, so it doesn't really like, and it's all non-custodial. So if the token is going in and out, it's like it's not the protocol's fault. It's probably something user did. But on the light vaults, maybe this could be something interesting to track. But yeah, I mean, we are exploring on that as well.
And so if the team did get, one of these governance or implementation contract event alerts, would that prompt the team to do something further, or is it still purely informational?
I mean, if someone like uh, if you want to do a governance proposal, you probably need like to add a governance proposal. You probably need a 1% of the total overall token supply. I'm not sure how much, but to pass it, you probably need a 4 to 5%, which all the governance follows. So if something happens behind the scenes, so basically we or the investors or whoever holds a lot of INST can take an action against it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something earlier too, which I touched on, but I want to circle back to it, which is like the value of having some of these alerts be public. So
Yeah.
I'm curious if any of these in your mind, have
Yeah, this
value.
is more like not for the teams, but for the community. Like tracking the core multi-signs of the teams, or the core governance is like already public, but a lot of the multi-signs are like, it's like a system update or anything the team does. It's like that can also be made public. Like it's already public on Etherscan and everywhere, but user doesn't know if something happens. So it's like, it's kind of a use case for the Forta and for the teams to be more open to the community, like and like a generic place where users can just find all their protocols. So everyone just follows same format. Like the entire community uses the time lock contract of Open Zeppelin, multi-sign of Ganus is safe, etc., etc. So it's like one particular code for Forta, and can be applied into many addresses to track all these things. I mean, it can basically help like the projects to be more transparent, and some shady projects to get caught, maybe.
Yeah, you brought up a good example there, around Open Zeppelin templates, and for example, like, let's say teams are using like the template like Governor Bravo, governance contracts, and Gnosis safes is another great example, right? A lot of most multi-sigs and treasuries are Gnosis, and we the Forta core dev team right now is developing some generic bots that will run on those templates. So any team that's using those contracts will have the ability to basically leverage these generic monitoring tools. So Siva, thanks for walking us through those, by the way. Really interesting, really helpful. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, and we started to talk about it here with multi-sigs and sort of broader governance activity, but are there other places that would or other sort of areas or components or functions that you think would warrant Forta monitoring? Perhaps maybe there's more things on the threat side that teams could be doing. Just curious what your thoughts are there.
I'm not very sure about it here. Like the core things are like the administrative activities, which community want to know, and the other side is like some shady activities, which like some different kinds of activities, just like I said, like the governance power and everything, which team might want to know. So I think like those two are like the top security things that are in my mind. I'm not sure, like there could be a lot more multi-chain activities and other things which might need a very proper tracking. Like there are like a lot of multi-chain bridges, tokens going, like they are not at all connected. I'm not sure, like and they possess a lot of security problems. So those kind of things might need a better alerting system or anything. But on our end at this moment, like these were the things so that were like at the top of my mind. But I think like it can be used at many different places in different ways.
Okay. Yeah, I know you brought up bridges. That's another great example, especially proof of stake bridges. There's contract risk there. There's sort of off-chain security risk there too. So yeah, there's a lot of teams that operate proof of stake bridges or participating in like the validation process on POS bridges are starting to use Forta more. And then there's the decentralized bridges, which are like, it's all contracts, right? There's a lot of code risk there too. So that those are good use cases as well.
But even in decentralized bridges, like there is code on one chain and there is code on different chain, but on like there is an off-chain activities that happens. Like if you're transferring the token, then like it's logged on mainnet and it's minted on Polygon. So it's like just a basic checking or something. Yeah, like I don't know, like similar to like what happened with the hack of Wormhole. Like it got burned and it released on the other side. Like users got the hold on the other side because he was able to mint more. So that mints were not backed by anything on the Ethereum chains. It's like those kind of alerts team can instantly get, like, you know, like none assets, no other assets came, like these are not backed, basically. Like nothing happened on Ethereum, but something happened here. Same goes for, I think, XZ Infinity. I don't know, the team got to know about after 7 days, but if the tokens are not backed by anything, they can get an instant alert on anything.
Yeah, it's a simple accounting check to make sure that there's, you know, an equivalent amount on this side and this side. Yeah. Well, this is great, Samik. Thanks so much for talking to us about monitoring, for walking us through Instant App bots, for thinking about, you know, other ways you can use Forta, and for highlighting, you know, things like bridges too, which is a big risk area right now, and something that we're spending a lot of time on. So I want to thank you for joining. I want to thank Instant App, and for everyone listening, keep an eye out for more workshops like this, where we dive into how the largest teams in Web3 are using Forta. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for inviting me. It was fun. All right, bye.